Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Ken Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, and we're going to be discussing a very dangerous drug, really. It's fluoroquinolone, it's called, and the spelling is unusual, Fluoroquinolone. You have all of that? Fluoroquinolone. It was recently in the news, a TV report about its lack of safety and a lot of side effects. And this is an extension of a talk I gave May 14, 2018, excuse me, that was a live video number 17. This is number 84, but I thought that since it was brought up again, and the severity of the symptoms and condition, I thought it was extremely important that everybody knows about this, because this medication, it's an antibiotic, we're going to be talking about it in much more detail in just a few moments, has to do with upper respiratory, non-complicated upper respiratory problems, sinus problems, and bronchitis. Now, if you're in Arizona, sinus problems are very, very common. And this drug is, shall we say, used quite frequently. So let's talk about drugs first of all, and the importance of understanding what you have to take. Look, if you have fibromyalgia or any other conditions, I'm sure you're on some kind of medication. And so you have to understand a little bit about these medications, what you need to look at. So you need to look at the effects, the reactions, and the interactions. So first of all, let's look at the drugs itself. What about a drug-to-drug interaction? Like you're taking two different ones. You really shouldn't be taking like aspirin and blood thinners at the same time, because aspirin will increase the thinning of your blood, and so you'll have more bleeding problems. Another one is drug-food interactions, where let's say you're taking sleep medication because you can't go to sleep, which is again quite common in fibromyalgia patients, and yet you're drinking coffee or you're eating dark chocolate. Those are all caffeine, and so instead of helping you to go to sleep, it's going to reduce your possibility of going to sleep. And then how about the drug reactions to other conditions? The simplest one to remember or think of is women pregnancy. And let's say, for example, you have a skin breakout and you start taking Accutane. This will oftentimes cause birth defects. So I just thought I'd show you as far as your reactions to the drugs and watching what you're taking. What are some of the answers to do? Well, first of all, you got to read all the labels. I've mentioned over and over and over again, read the labels of not only the foods that you're ingesting, but also the medications, and what are the side effects. Talk to your pharmacist, okay? List and know what your medications are, and use only one pharmacist, because there might be a little bit of difference as far as opinion, one to the other, and so pick out the one that you feel comfortable with and work with one. And so that'll oftentimes help with problems as far as your medications are concerned. I'm not going to tell you to stop taking medications. Some are for oftentimes for secondary conditions. Most important thing, however, is to understand what you're taking and the side effects. So now let's look at this drug, fluoroquinolone. Again, as I mentioned, it's an antibiotic, and it goes under a lot of different names. Cipro, let's see, Factiv, Levaquin, Avalox, Naroxen, Floxin, all the different names of this medication. Most important thing that you understand is, again, it's usually given for bacterial infections, sinus infections, bronchitis, uncomplicated urinary tract infections. The FDA actually brought out something. First of all, in 2008, they put warnings actually on a box, which is really a severe aspect that FDA would take. And in 2013, the FDA increased warnings on this medication because of the causes of potentially permanent neurological damage to the body, especially peripheral neuropathy. Peripheral neuropathy is, think about like this: the brain sends out a signal to the spinal cord, and then the spinal cord sends out messages to the body. This is interrupted and adversely affected. So this drug has a lot of neurotoxicity involved with it. Since 2004, this drug has been known to have a lot of health problems involving areas like peripheral neuropathy, including symptoms of the arms, legs, numb, tingle, burning, shooting pain, all of these things. Well, I thought I'd read you something. This is from 2013, and this has to do with the Food and Drug Administration. Subsequently, the labels of all fluoroquinolone were updated with strengthened warnings, including a revised box warning. Revisions include limitation of use statements advising that in the treatment of acute bacterial sinus, acute bacterial exacerbation of chronic bronchitis, uncomplicated urinary tract infections, fluoroquinolones should be reserved for patients who have no other options. No other options, okay? So, you need to explain and describe the serious side effects, including tendon damage, especially the tearing of Achilles tendons, peripheral neuropathy, central nervous system effects, cardiovascular or cardiac arrhythmias, gastrointestinal side effects, blood glucose abnormalities, ocular toxicity, that's the eyes, skin and allergic reactions. Okay, so all of these are major side effects of this medication. So let me give you a little bit of history concerning this. From 1990, this medication, fluoroquinolones, from 1997 to 2010, there were 2,500 deaths that actually had a link to this medication, fluoroquinolone. And along with that, during the same period of time, 1997 to 2010, which is 13 years, there were 45,000 calls in concerning negative side effects concerning this medication. Let me repeat that, 45,000, okay? And from that same period of time, 2,500 deaths that were actually linked to this medication. Now, in 2002, research showed at that time that there was a central nervous system reaction to this drug that was actually causing problems. In 2005, that's when a lot of the symptoms came up: central nervous system, cardiovascular, endocrine, the renal system, tendonitis, and again, ruptures of Achilles tendons. Very, very important, especially if you know someone that is in athletics that has had either a sinus infection, bronchitis, and then have had this drug, and then oftentimes they'll tear Achilles tendons. Can be directly related to this. Keep in mind, fluoroquinolones is the name of the drug, but it goes under Cipro, which I've seen, Proquin, and all the other names, Factiv, Levaquin, and Noroxin, and Floxin. Jesus, sounds like the seven dwarfs for crying out loud. But anyway, all of these things are extremely important. Like I said, 2002, CNS, central nervous system, was tied in. 2005, they came out with a lot of the areas of problems. Let's see, in 2008 to 2013, 2008 was the first one the FDA came out with warnings, and then 2013, I just read you the additional ones in itself. 2014, PBS public broadcasting system actually found there were 90% of drug reactions were not actually being reported. 90%, and this was back in 2014. 2015, the FDA came out and said this drug was no more effective than a placebo. My goodness. But the causes, it could be permanent disability and damage to the body itself. Okay, so we're going on and on with this. You have to understand, all drugs, as I've mentioned to you in the past, have side effects. And so what they look at is they look at benefits versus the risk. If the benefits are greater than the risk, then they accept it and it continues on the market. However, in 2016, the FDA found after 119 medical research areas, studies, that the risk outweighed the benefits as far as the drug is concerned. The risks outweigh the benefits. So why is this thing not on? Why is it still on the market? Well, that is a real problem. The FDA does not have the authority to order or mandate a drug off the market. Believe it or not, once it's on the market, it's on the market. The FDA can't pull it off. He can give little warnings and everything else, but they can't pull it off the market. So here's a further problem. There's something called the CDER. It's called the Central Drug Evaluation and Research Studies. And it's the CDER is supposed to study each and every one of the drugs. Here's how they do it. They ask the companies that develop the drug to do the tests. And then the tests are sent to the CDER, and the CDER looks at them and says, oh, okay, that looks good, and then they allow it on the market. So the CDER does not do this testing on the drug itself. How do you like that? Isn't that interesting, huh? It's fascinating, where it's almost like having, the fox in the chicken coop and say, hey, listen, take care of the chickens, all right, for me. I just find that fascinating. But here's something else that's interesting. They did a study on a budget, and the budget in 2015 at that time was $1.1 billion that the FDA used for the drugs itself, to study and so forth. However, $770 million of this is actually given to them by the drug companies. So, and then that is then foisted onto the cost of buying the drugs by individuals itself. So 2/3 of all the money that the FDA actually uses for its studies is given to them by drug companies. Huh, isn't that interesting? Okay. And the FDA depends upon the individual companies, okay, voluntary reporting. So if there's something wrong with the drug companies are supposed to let the FDA know. And that has been found to be a problem because the FDA doesn't get a lot of information from companies, especially if they want their products out there, and these products are making millions or billions of dollars. There's at least over 50 published clinical actual studies that the FDA failed to publish any research or any findings from companies that show that there might be problems with that drug. Over 50 published clinical articles concerning this. So if a company falsifies their findings, say for example on their studies, the FDA doesn't report them. They don't let the public know about it. It's fascinating how money will act and respond to the success or failure of individual things. And the FDA says, well, we don't have the time. We don't have time. We don't have the money. We don't have the effort. We don't have enough people to study all the drugs. Many times they'll leave them on because of pressure from society, supposedly. Okay, we got this new cancer drug. We just found out about it. We don't have time to do studies on it and so forth. It worked on rats and rabbits, and so let's send it out there. So the FDA says, well, okay, all right, we'll send it out and see how it works. And so we'll give it to the people, guinea pigs, okay, to find out how it works. And so if it works on 1 or 2 people, but the rest of the people get sick, they went, hey, that sounds like a great idea. There's some benefits there, okay? And so the benefits, as long as there's enough benefits, then forget about the risks. Every pharmaceutical product has side effects, okay? And I even, when I check the patient's information and so forth, they'll bring in the boxes, and I get this paper, and it's an extremely small print, and it just keeps on like an accordion, goes out and out and out and out. And yeah, the side effects are in there. You just have to look at them and try to figure out. For myself, I got a pretty good idea as far as what I'm looking for, but still, many times they'll be hidden as far as information is concerned. So, fluoroquinolone, under the names of Cipro, as I mentioned, Factive, Levaquin, Avalox, Noroxin, Floxin, all those things. Look, ask your doctor for another medication, okay? Because even the FDA said the risks are worse than the benefits on this product, on this pharmaceutical drug. So that's the most important thing. And again, use those to-dos as far as to study and look and know what kind of medications you have. As far as read the labels, go to a pharmacist, check questions, know what medications you're taking, try to work with only one pharmaceutical company or one pharmacist itself. And don't forget the drug reactions and the drug food and also the drug conditions. And know what you're taking, ask questions. It's extremely important. so that you don't get sick or ill or even worse, because uh, many of these side effects are serious enough where they're forever. They actually can cause problems. The side effects can cause problems that will stick with you for the rest of your life. I've had a number of people contact me, and I let them know that I was doing a talk on this today again, to expand and let people know of this problem. There's a number of groups out there for the fluoroquinolones, the side effect groups that are fighting to get this under even more control, so to speak. Well, anyway, Ken Muich, Stetson Chiropractic Clinic, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, where we try to give you as much information as we can. I know fibromyalgia patients take medications, okay? And if this is one of them, please go to your doctor and check and see what kind of side effects, or if you're having any additional side effects. For fibromyalgia patients, that could be anything. Think of all the symptoms and so forth that you're having. I want to thank you for your time and efforts. These are all saved, and they're going to be placed on YouTube, as a matter of fact, very, very soon, so that you can go back and check on all the different the subjects that we talked about. And next week will not be any different. We'll be covering another very, very interesting, exciting subject, fibromyalgia and other related medical conditions and areas, to keep you in touch with what's going on. My information is clinical and research. Clinical in that patients that I see, I talk to, and I work with, and research in respect to that is a direct hands-on, person-to-person research that we're dealing with on a regular basis. Thank you very, very much. Oh, one last thing. If you have side effects from a medication, the FDA says go to FDA MedWatch, and report the side effects. The number is 800-332-1088. That's 800-332-1088. Again, if you have side effects from a medication, a drug, pharmaceutical, whatever, call FDA MedWatch, 1-800-332-1088. Please do that. You can help yourself and your neighbor and anybody else that might be trying to take something that could be really disabling or deadly to them. Thank you very, very much. You want to have a wonderful, great week. Look forward to seeing and talking to you next week, 12:30 p.m. On Monday. Bye-bye now.